Welcome to This Explainer. You know, every single year, almost like clockwork, millions of us just stop whatever we're doing. And it's not for a global election, it's not for some major sporting event, it's literally for a phone. The launch of a new iPhone is this clockwork global phenomenon, and it commands massive, absolutely massive, attention from consumers, financial markets, and competitors alike. So today, we're going to look way beyond the shiny glass and the titanium to decode the invisible moat Apple has built up over the decades. Because over the last few years, a really familiar narrative has popped up. Critics love to point out that the new iPhones feel, well, kind of repetitive. You know, a slightly faster chip, a brighter display, maybe a slightly different camera design. And they constantly ask, has Apple just stopped innovating? Yet, despite all this constant criticism, millions of people voluntarily upgrade year after year. So why exactly do people line up around the block for a product that some call completely predictable? Well, think back for a second. For years, the whole tech industry fought these brutal feature wars based entirely on hardware specs. We're talking gigahertz, megapixels, RAM, processor speeds. The basic assumption was that better specs automatically equaled a better product. But Apple recognized something absolutely fundamental. People don't wake up excited about transistor counts. We don't buy technology, we buy experiences. We care about capturing a child's first steps, calling family effortlessly across the globe, and experiencing what's called cognitive ease. Let's actually anchor ourselves back in January 2007 for a minute. We all know the legendary moment. When Steve Jobs walked out on that stage, he didn't barrage the audience with technical jargon or battery specs. He simply said, an iPod, a phone, an internet communicator. He fundamentally reframed the entire concept of the smartphone around human problems and solutions rather than just hardware. That single iconic moment reshaped consumer expectations for a generation, and it set up a philosophy that competitors would literally spend years trying to decode. The real secret sauce here is a psychological principle known as cognitive ease. Put simply, the simpler something is to understand, the more people tend to trust it. It's exactly why "it just works" became such a powerful, even if sometimes meme-worthy, mantra. Apple totally masters this by refusing to overwhelm us with endless choices. They keep a curated product lineup, a super familiar design language, and incredibly predictable software updates. When your technology just fades into the background and works without making you think too hard, it builds a deep, unshakable consumer trust. And this cognitive ease, it's the foundation for their legendary ecosystem. Because, let's be real, you don't just buy an iPhone. Suddenly you have a Mac, right? Then you add an Apple Watch to your wrist and AirPods in your ears. Individually, features like your AirPods automatically switching from your phone to your laptop or your watch unlocking your computer, they seem like tiny little conveniences. But together, they seamlessly work to eliminate hundreds of tiny daily digital frustrations. It's no longer just a collection of gadgets, it's a completely cohesive digital lifestyle. Which brings us to the real economic powerhouse behind the whole shebang, the network effect. This is an economic principle where every additional connected element in Apple's ecosystem increases the overall value and utility of the entire system. Your photos are everywhere, your messages follow you, your passwords sync automatically. Because of this, leaving Apple doesn't just mean swapping out your smartphone hardware. It means painfully untangling yourself from a highly integrated digital ecosystem. And yeah, accepting your fate as a dreaded green text bubble in your family group chat. Once you're woven in, it is incredibly difficult to leave behind. But hey, the magic isn't just in the software. Apple's hidden architectural strategy is actually building hardware and software as one single cohesive unit. While competitors had to adapt their software to off-the-shelf processors, Apple invested heavily in designing its own custom silicon, like their industry-shaking M-series chips. Imagine building a race car where the exact same engineers design the engine, the transmission, and the chassis all together. The result is this invisible advantage of unmatched optimization, speed, and longevity. Because behind that whole illusion of simplicity is a massive, incredibly quiet operational machine. We're talking about custom silicon engineering, precision global logistics that somehow land millions of devices on shelves simultaneously all over the world, a sprawling network of physical retail stores for direct support, massive cloud and app platforms, and years of guaranteed software security updates. Replicating a smartphone is one thing for sure, but replicating this perfectly synchronized global machine, that's nearly impossible. At the end of the day, Apple is really selling confidence, not just a phone. Notice how other tech giants rush to be the absolute first to introduce highly experimental features, like foldable screens or ultra-fast charging. Apple employs a patient refinement strategy. They often just wait, observe, and refine, releasing a technology only when it perfectly fits their ecosystem.
It might look slow to some on the outside, I get that, but it guarantees that when a feature does arrive, it works flawlessly, and that reinforces that vital consumer confidence.
But, every dominant strategy eventually faces a reckoning. Can yesterday's strategy really solve tomorrow's problems? We are reaching a massive climactic turning point in the tech world right now. The smartphone market has matured, meaning replacement cycles are lengthening. People are holding onto their phones for years because, well, they still perform great. And right on the horizon is the emergence of a massive, totally disruptive technological revolution: artificial intelligence. The rules of the game are changing, and they're changing fast. We are literally experiencing a profound paradigm shift. Think about it. The traditional smartphone era was all about the user executing commands, tapping menus, swiping apps, searching manually. You had to learn how the computer worked. But the artificial intelligence era, it's entirely different. Now, the device needs to understand your intent, summarize your documents, and collaborate with you naturally. It's a massive shift from using a simple tool to actually conversing with a personal computing assistant. Computers are now learning how we communicate. Now, for Apple, this presents some really critical trade-offs. On one hand, you have cloud AI processing, which leverages massive remote server infrastructure for super complex models. But on the other hand, you have on-device AI processing, which prioritizes speed and, crucially, user privacy. Apple has spent decades making privacy a core marketing pillar. So adopting AI means navigating this crazy tightrope. How do you deliver cutting-edge assistance through initiatives like private cloud compute without compromising the strict privacy boundaries your users have totally come to expect? To really grasp the stakes of getting this wrong, just look at the history of technology. It is literally a graveyard of giants. In the 90s, Palm dominated handhelds. In the 2000s, Kodak owned photography, but completely missed the digital revolution. In 2007, Nokia led global mobile phone sales. And in the 2010s, BlackBerry owned business communication. These were completely untouchable titans. Yet, they all fell rapidly because they failed to adapt when the technological paradigm shifted beneath their feet. The real paradox here is that success creates confidence, absolutely, but it also creates dangerous inertia. When you have a wildly successful, multi-billion-dollar business model, your natural instinct is to protect it at all costs. But the inherent danger is that in protecting today's highly successful model, you risk completely missing the next great technological transformation. Innovation isn't just about building new things, it's about being willing to disrupt your own success before someone else does it for you. Because let's look ahead, the future of personal technology might not actually revolve around a single glowing rectangle in your pocket. The future points toward distributed computing. We're talking wearables, augmented reality, deep smart home integration, advanced vehicle software, and distributed artificial intelligence. It's this invisible network of AI seamlessly connecting our entire lives, where computing is everywhere, completely surrounding us, rather than being confined to just one single device. Which leaves us with one incredibly critical question. Will Apple redefine what we expect from technology once again, leading us smoothly right into this new AI-driven era? Or has the company that built the world's most impressive invisible moat finally become too large and honestly too heavily invested in the iPhone to adapt? Whether the ultimate legacy of the iPhone is its ongoing evolution or its eventual replacement is, without a doubt, the most fascinating tech story of our time. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer to decode it all. Keep questioning what's next, and I'll catch you next time.